Hey, welcome to 1500ESPN.com. My name's Andrew Kramer. I want to thank you for joining me here live from Indianapolis. Again, got kicked out of the combine a little bit too earlier than I was planning. Too much writing to do, but again, I thank you for bearing with this great background behind me. What did we learn today? What is really day 4, but day 3 for media availability of the NFL Scouting Combine. We talked to a number of different linebackers, found out that the Vikings are doing their due diligence and trying to figure out if they should target a linebacker in the first round, and if so, who. They've talked with or are planning to talk with Florida's Dante Fowler Jr., Mississippi State's Bernard Rick McKinney, and Miami's Denzel Perryman. Those last two I mentioned are more inside linebackers, guys that could fill the role that Jasper Brinkley played in Mike Zimmer's defense last year. Brinkley's set to be a free agent in 2 weeks. Chad Greenway's stance with the team's obviously uncertain. He's set to make $8.8 million against the cap at age 32. And he's only getting older, hasn't been able to stay healthy, and so the Vikings are looking to upgrade at that position. Now, we'll see those players that I just mentioned hit the field here this weekend, but we only saw the offensive linemen and tight ends hit the field today. Rick Spielman had talked about it I believe it was on Thursday when he spoke at the podium, and he had said basically when they're evaluating now these offensive linemen, because they are looking to upgrade the offensive line specifically at left guard, when they're evaluating these guys, they had to change their philosophy. They had 8 days worth of draft meetings that they went through before they even came here to set up their first draft board. So obviously that was with General Manager Rick Spielman, the coaching staff with Mike Zimmer, and obviously the scouting department. They all had to come to a collective consensus and figure out what traits they're looking for in offensive linemen. Well, without Adrian Peterson in the fold, the offense changed a lot, and that really kind of sheds light on how this team was different without him in terms of going to more of a spread offense, 3 wide receivers, trying to also capitalize on Teddy Bridgewater's strengths, which are more apt in the shotgun, and then also at the same time create running lanes for the running backs that aren't as good as Adrian Peterson. So it was kind of twofold there. But that changes what the offensive line does, not only in its pass sets, but in its run protection. Run blocking. It was more of a zone blocking scheme as opposed to the pulling guards that you had before. Without Brandon Fusco, that's going to change as well. You had replacements along the offensive line. So when they were looking at those guys today, they did shift how they were looking at them. It wasn't necessarily more of a get off the line of scrimmage and power running game offensive style. They're looking for guys that could do a variety of different things and do wider pass protection sets and really help it in terms of that standpoint. They wanted to upgrade here at left guard, so they're looking at different prospects. I was Brandon Scherf. He was a tackle, obviously. You're going to hear that name a lot. You've probably already heard that name a lot, but he's a guy that could be targeted with that number 11 pick if he's there. A lot of different mock drafts assume that he's going to be gone by then. He's a guy that impressed today at the Combine, running one of the faster 40 times at 319 pounds. However, he ended up hurting his hamstring and couldn't finish the drills, so there's some things left to be seen with him, and I'm sure he'll be able to fill that in on his pro day next month. Other than that, at the Combine today, we got to talk to Amari Cooper, one of the top wide receivers of the class. It's going to be tough for this class to live up to the hype that was set by last year's class, obviously with Mike Evans, Odell Beckham Jr., Sammy Watkins, all the names that came out, including Jarvis Landry. This group's still pretty good, though, and it's led by Amari Cooper, who says he's only obviously 20 years old. He's got a lot to prove, and he's not sure in terms of if he's going to meet with the Vikings yet. He probably wouldn't be there anyway at number 11. He'll be gone in the top 10, if not the top 5 anyway. He's met with the Washington Redskins, and he says that's the only team as of Friday afternoon that he's met with. So the Vikings have met, though, obviously with Devontae Parker out of Louisville, Sammy Coates out of Auburn. Devin Smith was under the impression out of Ohio State, the vertical threat out of Ohio State. He was under the impression that he was going to meet with the Vikings at some point earlier in the week. So they're doing their due diligence as well at the receiver position. They're also targeting different linebackers and different edge rushers. They need a lot of help. This run defense was not that good last year. If you remember, they finished 25th in yards per game. They allowed 4.3 yards per carry on the ground. A lot of that had to do with not only injuries, but also just a lack of consistency at that linebacker spot. When Anthony Barr wasn't there, their pass rush also had some teeth removed. They averaged, I think it was 1.5 sacks per game in the 5 games without him compared to 3 per game. They were doubling their sack average when Anthony Barr was on the field. You need another pass rusher outside of Everson Griffin and Anthony Barr on that right side to be able to apply some pressure to the quarterback, because it's too easy for opposing offenses to adjust and account for them. So that's why they're targeting certain linebackers here, not only to improve the run game, but their pass rush as well. And don't be surprised if they take another linebacker in the first round. We got 2 months to go here. There is a lot to kind of fall into place, a lot of dominoes yet to fall. So I don't know if they're going to take a linebacker in the first round, but what I can tell you is they're talking to a lot of them down here, and that's certainly an option. Mike Zimmer said this class isn't as deep as he wants it to be in terms of linebackers, which means there's some other position groups he might be able to find a little later in the draft that he would be more comfortable with instead of waiting till maybe later rounds to find a linebacker. So that might kind of push up the need or priority for linebacker just in terms of who's available and who's out there in the draft. He also doesn't like the free agency class for linebackers either. He said it's pretty thin. So I think if you have slim options at that point, you got to look long and hard at the number 11 overall pick. And if somebody falls that you want to grab there, or even early in the second round, I think they got to do it, and that's what they're putting together right now. Well, guys, tomorrow we'll see some more on-field drills. I believe it's going to be the quarterbacks and wide receivers throwing and catching. I tweeted it out. When the media circus went after Jameis Winston today, I could sit at my desk and continue working because I was just so thankful that the Vikings don't need a top quarterback, just because I don't have to, fight through that circus and try to ask Jameis Winston a question. But it was certainly entertaining to watch. I'm sure you'll be able to find the videos all over the place, but I won't be at the throwing sessions for Jameis or Marcus Mariota tomorrow because we don't need to be. If you remember, though, the Vikings are going to be targeting later in the rounds or in the undrafted crop, looking for an extra quarterback because Christian Ponder is probably going to walk in free agency here next month. So they are going to be looking for a passer. It's just not going to be a top one. So tomorrow we'll be looking more at the receivers. Again, those guys I had mentioned previously. So stick to 1500ESPN.com. I'll keep you updated on all that stuff. Got 2